Hi, it's Heidi Sawyer. I had an amazing opportunity to spend some evening sessions with a group of extremely motivated, intuitive, sensitive people. These are people who are driven to understand the deeper meaning and purpose of their life. During these sessions, I took them along a 7-step proven path that I have walked myself and helped many others do the same. That I've done with incredible results. I'm sorry you couldn't be there, but I hope this is the next best thing. These are excerpts from the live events. Here they are. Enjoy, and I hope more importantly that you do something with them for your life moving forward. Thank you for listening. We're looking at something that is an important part, or the understanding of it is an important part of your development, and definitely as far as your intuitive knowledge is concerned. So what we're going to look at is pretty much putting a lot of the things that you've learnt in order. So you're saying, oh, okay, that's how that works, or oh, right, that's the part that I've been working through. Okay. So this is step 5 of 7, and for anyone who's missed any steps out, don't worry. They work completely independently of each other, so you don't need to have done. And I go and shut it. So accessing your super intuitive state is, as I say, step 5 of 7, but you don't have to have done preceding steps in order to understand them, because each one is independent. Okay? So to begin with, and how we look at this, is the definition of what intuition is. Okay, I like it explained as this, which is a quote, Carl Jung quote, which is perception via the unconscious. Okay, I think that this is a really great way of you understanding what intuition means. There is quite a distinct difference, which I'll go into a little bit more in how this is broken down. There's quite a distinct difference between intuition and psychic. Okay? And you will probably have had an experience of both. Okay, but there is quite a distinction between the two. So what is the super intuitive state? The superintuitive state is an accurate interpretation of the unconscious to conscious world through the empathic senses. Okay? Hopefully you understand what that means, which is it's how you interpret something through your previously unconscious world into your conscious self. Okay, so from the unseen into your seen physical world. Okay, how you interpret it will be through your empathic senses. Okay, because as an intuitive sensitive person, you have highly developed empathic senses. Okay, what that means is you have highly developed senses that accurately interpret the thoughts and feelings of other people. Okay? So this is broken down into different stages. So there are different stages of intuition. Now, stage 1, it's highly likely, to give you in terms of a picture, it's highly likely that you have passed through stage 1 and you've had certain different, kind of experiences of this at some stage or another. It was part of your opening process. Okay? It was part of your opening process in order for you to be interested in anything deeper. So, stage 1, how did it occur? Well, stage 1 is the fascination with the unseen. Okay, so for some people, it is mediumship. For other people, it's angels. For some people, it's having an understanding of where things come from, where our perceptions come from. For some, it's things like deja vu. For others, it's knowing things before they happen. Okay? Seeing things out of the corner of your eye. Lots of you will have had that experience. Okay? Seeing something out the corner of your eye, looking and it's gone, or an increased experience of feeling that there is something there when it's not there. Okay? Also, stage 1 is a keen interest in the healing arts. You will all have passed through that at some level or another. For lots of people, it's Reiki in the first instance. For lots of people, there's a strong attraction to some component of healing. Okay, some of it is complementary therapies. Some of it is hypnotherapy. All of those kind of things surface at some stage or another. If you're very much a feeling kind of person, then you will definitely have experienced it through healing first or doing something with your hands. So it would have been one of the massage therapies or reflexology or something along those lines. Okay. As far as Reiki is concerned, again, if you are very much a feeling type, you will have gone through that because you would have had to go through an experience of the sensation of energy passing through your body. Okay, so who's done Reiki? Okay, lots of you. Who's done complementary therapies? Yeah. Who's gone through a keen interest in angels? Okay. So all of these things will have been very active at your earlier stages of stage 1. Now they may have calmed down quite considerably, or they then went into something deeper. So you started to open into, thinking, okay, well this is great, but I need something else. I need something to touch into something a little bit deeper. I need a deeper understanding of something. And that's because you were actively moving through stage 1. Okay. Now, this is very indicative of stage 1. There will be, or there has been, at some stage, a fear of your energy being depleted, okay, or feeling that it has been significantly depleted by being around certain situations or people. So quite often there is a high level of exhaustion or chronic fatigue at some stage, okay, during stage 1 development. Who's gone through chronic fatigue? Okay. So it does, it stays in the system. Obviously, some of these things stay in, but generally you find as you pass through stage 1 that these things become easier to take care of, easier to manage. You've learnt ways around it, and you've learnt about the environments to generally avoid. Okay. Now, what happens at the end of stage 1, there is an urgent need for an end result. And I get asked this all the time. When will I be psychic? Now, in order for someone to ask this question, they have had some kind of insight at some stage or another, which could have been kind of a flash of something, or they knew something, or they had a direct experience of the unseen that seemed very present and very real. Okay? And they want another experience of that. They want another feeling of it. Okay. Now this is where the distinction between intuition and psychic come into the picture. Psychic is a temporary experience. Okay? It's a temporary experience. Intuition is the prolonged experience. So it becomes more of a natural state. Psychic is a temporary experience. Now, if you had a consistently psychic experience, you would be put away. Okay? Because it is not something that you can physically sustain in the normal everyday world. Okay? Now, the reason for this is during stage 1, ultimately what you're up to, what you're wanting to do, is to gain an understanding of life at the emotional level. Okay? Now, in order for you to really understand life at the emotional level, you have to experience it as both physical and non-physical. Okay? So the astral in this scenario is, the astral is it is a manifestation of emotion. Now you would have perhaps heard me describe this as the big donut in the sky. Okay? So the big donut in the sky is that metaphorical place that everybody's thoughts, feelings and emotions go into. Okay? Everything you've ever thought, everything you've ever felt, anything that anyone is feeling at any given time goes in to this energetic vibration. Okay? All psychic information is drawn from the donut, basically, to put that in very technical terms. It's drawn from the donut, so it's drawn from the astral field, okay? And that astral field is accessible to everybody, but most people don't know how to access it, so they maybe access it in a spontaneous way. So they may access it in a heightened state, they may access it in a position of fear, they may access it when they feel under threat. Okay, because what you're doing is you're opening your senses to something else. Okay, so a psychic experience is your access point to the astral. Okay, now when that suddenly opens up and you go, oh wow, look at this place, you do get a big surge of kind of energy into your physical world that gives you a lot of experiences of something that is psychic. Okay, so at stage 1, you blew things up all the time. Okay, you blew light bulbs, you blew anything electrical, it got expensive, anything with a moving part. And you will probably find that you still have that effect upon things when you're in a strop. Okay, so when you've got a stroppy on, you will find that you still manage to be able to do that. Okay, I manage that really well, and I get told off for it consistently, how I manage to send systems down, phones won't work, all that kind of stuff, and I'm sure you do the same. But there was a period of time where you had more of that as your experience. Okay, so an example of this is when it's really heightened is you get it around teenagers. Okay, so intuitive sensitive teenagers have got a high surge of energetic vibration, especially around the emotions. Okay, for obvious reasons, they're going through emotional changes which are very energetic but also very physical. Now at that particular time, whenever someone says to me, I've got poltergeist in my house, and there's something doing something. One person told me about how this chapstick, you know, those lip salve things, kept just showing up in the middle of a room. Just this chapstick used to keep showing up. Stood on the carpet in the middle of the room. They also said how they had an old gramophone, and it would start playing itself, all this kind of thing going on. And he wasn't in the slightest bit interested really in anything around things that were psychic, but this was beginning to really spook him out. So I said, do you have a teenage son? And he said, yes, I do. He's just coming into his teenage years. And I said, well, it feels to me that your teenage son has got a lot of things on his mind that he doesn't want to talk to you about, and it's got mainly to do with the end of your previous marriage and the fact that you're in this new relationship, and he is uncomfortable about it, and he's never really spoken about it. And his face went, oh, that has happened, because his unconscious is working overtime. You haven't got a poltergeist. It is actually your son's energy field. He is not in the slightest bit conscious of this happening, but it is happening. His thought process is able to do this. It's a sign of his stress. What I suggest you do is you go home and talk to him and say, let's have a chat. We've never really had a chat about how things happened. And he did. He went home, had a chat with his son. I spoke to him a couple of weeks later, and he said all activity had stopped. Okay, and I've heard it constantly over the years. And so every time anyone says they've got poltergeist and it's throwing things around, I say, okay, where's the teenager? Because we need to approach what's going on in the teenager's mind, because they are intuitive sensitive and they don't know how to communicate it, and so their system is showing this through this particular activity. Okay, 9 times out of 10. In fact, in every instance I've ever come across, there has been somebody around with a very heightened state of emotion that they haven't known how to solve. You also see it around haunted places. Okay, so haunted places aren't always, there's not always a ghost rushing around or the headless horseman galloping through bedrooms, but in certain circumstances it happens. Why? Because it has to be matched with the same vibration. Okay, because it's a hologram. It's not something that's actually happening at that time. It's an old memory imprint. Okay, does that make sense? Where there is an energy that is still very present and it does interact with people in that environment, it will be able to, because there is something within that person's energy field that enables that connection. Okay, whereas why it happens for some people and it doesn't happen for others. So the astral, in terms of its manifestation of emotion, where does it sit? Well, I'm sure you've probably heard me say this before. It sits on the tree of life, below the 9 vibration of the subconscious and above the 110 vibration of the body. It sits directly across here on the 32nd path. Okay? So you visit this place constantly. You visit it in an unconscious way. You visit it at night. You visit it in your thoughts and your perceptions of things. Okay? Now, stage 1 of the development process means that you become more conscious of your interaction with it. Okay? So when somebody says to me, I'll give you an example of someone today actually. This is a person who is a client of mine. She's in America. I've never seen her, never physically seen her, never met her in person. But she phones me up and asks me about. She's usually got a realm of names that she wants to ask me about, of different people. And one, she said today, I said, oh, it's something, I said, oh, hang on, before we go any further, it's something to do with something about their age. You've got something going on about their age. And she, I think she was drinking a glass of water at the time, and I heard this spluttering as it went across the room. She said, oh my God, I can't hide anything from you. And it wasn't that she wanted to hide anything. It was that she hadn't really thought of that thing, but it had been something that had been playing somewhere deep in the back of her mind. So I was trying to interpret what this energy vibration was through the astral that she wanted me to have a look at. Okay, so the astral it's an energy field that you don't have to see. It's not one that you have to have a powerful experience of. It's part of our world, and it's part of our everyday world. Okay? Does that kind of make sense? But our access to it is limited until we move into a deeper stage beyond the beginning phase of stage 1, and we start moving into stage 2. Okay? So when people reach deeper into stage 1, okay, what they want to do is they want more of it quickly, because they think, oh wow, this is good. I can see around corners. I can have an idea of something before I find myself in it. And for intuitive, sensitive people, that's amazing, because for us, we like a little bit of warning. And so if we can perceive something before we have to go into a situation and have a little bit of warning about that, we're really chuffed about it. We don't do surprises very well. Okay, so people either want more of it when they become really conscious of it, or they want to reject it completely, okay, because they're frightened of it. If they've started to have a really powerful experience of the astral, and they've got people waking them up in the middle of the night going, excuse me, hello, can you see me? That really upsets them, okay, because the astral is the meeting point. Okay, it's also the meeting point between the seen and the unseen world, which is why some people have powerful experiences of meeting people who are no longer in the physical realm. Okay, so why do they freak out about it? They think it's a terrifying indicator that they're losing their mind. Okay, at some stage or another, you probably went through that too, or had a little wonder. Okay, does that make sense? Now, I'm using this because I think it's a good indication, because Dick Schwab is very what's termed as materialist. Okay, so he doesn't have any belief whatsoever in the unseen world. Okay, he thinks everything is based within the brain. So this is a quote that I picked out of his work, which is, it's sometimes hard to draw a line between spiritual experiences and pathological symptoms. The former can get out of hand, leading to mental illness. Okay, so this is what lots of people at stage 1 are terrified of. They're terrified of being labelled mad. Okay, so lots of people at stage 1 keep it quiet, don't want to tell anybody in case they get marched into the nearest facility. Okay, so but within this, I will say that if stage 1 is left unmanaged, mixed with fear, okay, a lack of mind management, repeating episodes of extreme intuitive instances or psychic experiences, excuse me, and there is a large splash of paranoia, then the mental illness question will come up. Okay, does that make sense? But all of these things have to be present, in my opinion, for that to come up. Some people will have experiences of stage 1. What on earth was that? When they have been in deep, deep stress, okay? But it doesn't mean that that will be something that they will be able to prolong. It means that they've just had a direct experience of the astral, which is very heightened emotions, which gets labelled at times psychosis, okay? But in my experience and what I have seen, that there is a very distinct difference between that and an intuitive experience or a psychic experience that is moving into a deeper stage of intuitive development. Okay? Very distinct difference. Yes? A lot of fear. Yes.
So my question was going to be, because I have a Qigong master who's talked about this, about how Westerners stand and do Qigong. He says that we're just standing there like an aerial and you're just sort of catching any old nonsense. So is it that we're kind of open, we're on, and we're like an aerial, like a radio station, we're just picking up whatever's broadcasting to us because we're not choosing?
Yes, absolutely. So the question is it that, at stage 1, can you go into a place where you're an open channel and you're receiving whatever is given off? Yes, there is an element of that. And yes, you will have manifestations of emotion that can show in the mind, because it will show on the astral. Bearing in mind the astral is very symbolic, so you get lots of symbolism within there. So the little demon sat on your chest, yes, will be a manifestation of emotion that is shown through the astral as something that is symbolic. It will show they'll show a lot of symbolism. Yes, our world constantly is linked with the astral, okay? So it's arguable that in some religious examples are that the astral is actually hell, okay? Because it is a manifestation of emotion. So if we have not dealt with our emotions, then where do we go when we leave the physical world? Well, the thought is that we then just go directly into the experience of the astral, which can be a direct experience of the emotion. Okay? Does that kind of make sense? I'm just using that as a place to put it. Okay? So when people say that, madness is not very far away, what they're actually saying is somebody's idea of madness could actually be a full experience of something they don't understand in the astral realms. Okay? So, say, for instance, something like substance abuse. Okay? What does that do? Absolutely, it blasts open your energetic field, and yes, will give people a direct experience of the astral experience in a format that they don't necessarily understand and that their energy system is not prepared for. Okay, does that make sense?
That's Lucy in the sky with diamonds then.
It's there's a lot of kind of the okay. So the astral, as an example, all of our emotions, good and bad. So some things that haven't given a calm foundation and all of that kind of stuff will still have a vibrational relevance to you in the astral field. Okay, this is why you start to go through, and you can't avoid it, when you're really and well and truly passing through stage 1, you are working through fear and you're working through resolving that to a high level, whether you like it or not, basically. You found yourself doing that. And the reason is because you've placed yourself in a position where you are set to master stage 1 and master the astral. Okay, does that make sense? So, I'm referring to this in terms of the distinction between, how the mental illness question comes up, because people who are suddenly propelled into their intuitive ability, when it opens up, they will worry about it. Okay? They will go into worrying about how they manage it as far as something about their internal world is concerned. But the general rule is, if you're questioning where your insight is coming from, it's healthy. Okay? Questioning is a very healthy situation. Because what you're able to do is, if you're questioning, is you're able to distinguish between your physical and your non-physical world. Okay? So the questioning comes from a normal place of curiosity and a normal place for your desire for balance between the two. Your desire for balance, it's normal. Okay? So where you question insight and imagination and all of that kind of stuff, it's normal. Okay? Most haunted. Oh, well, that's a whole different. that's a funny old rule. So, your intuitive journey is something that you have to remember. So, when people ask me, when will I be psychic? Your intuitive journey is therefore something that you have to remember. It's a journey. It's not a destination. Okay? It's not something that you arrive and then that's it. It's something that develops and it builds upon and it deepens. But the relationship is primarily with yourself, okay? So it's first and foremost your access to a deeper understanding of yourself. Now, if someone loses that as far as their connection is concerned, you will find them they may have been highly psychic, highly perceptive around things, and then their accuracy starts to drop off. Okay, does that make sense? And their accuracy starts to drop off because they only have it as the manifestation of the astral. So that's the only thing they're interpreting as, and the astral is highly changeable because it's emotion. Okay, does that make sense? So as soon as you then put emotion into it, whips around all over the place. Stage 2 is going into the stages basically beyond the astral. Okay, so the astral becomes part of it, it's not the whole picture, which is the distinguishing factor between psychic and intuition. Okay, does that make sense? Yeah.
Sorry, can you repeat what's the distinction between psychic and intuition? Astral is very changeable because it's emotional, and then I lost the distinction.
So, the astral is changeable because it's very emotional. Okay, psychic is a temporary experience of the astral. Okay, so what you can do is link into that and be highly accurate, providing the emotions don't change, or you can read emotion. If you still have a lot of fear, you cannot accurately read emotion because you won't interpret it, you just take it literally. Okay? But stage 1 is a necessary part of the development process. Even if in the initial stages it is propelled by fear. Okay? So the example we had, which is extreme fear, then triggered this situation. It's still a necessary part of the development process. Okay? You can't skip it. That's why you've been through it, because you have to know what fear is. You have to know what that vibration is. Okay? Does that, yeah? And every single one of you in this room knows what fear is. You've experienced it at some distinguishing level. Okay? And it's not just in your head, you've experienced it right the way through your body, right the way through your nervous system at some stage. Okay? And may even be for a prolonged stage. Now, you may have seen this as bad, but in actual fact, it's really good, because without it, you cannot really understand the deepening aspects of the intuitive self, which is, in my opinion, the intuitive self gives access to a very calm self, okay, which is able to see things clearly. So if a person stays just in stage 1 of the intuitive process, they have an interest purely in proving something, okay? The proof that they need is they need to show to themselves and to others that their intuitive impulses are not part of a vivid imagination. So they're staying in stage 1 because they've got something to prove. Do you see? Which is why, let's say as an example, with experiments proving the existence of psychic skills. Okay, why are they very changeable? Why are they unreliable? Well, because you can't repeat it in the same format, and you can't repeat it in the same format. Guess why? Because the astral's changed. Okay, it's a manifestation of emotion in the moment. It will have changed. So how can you make it stay the same? To give exactly the same result. You can't, because it's changed. Okay? And then as soon as you put a dollop of fear in there, it's changed again, because you can't see clearly, you can only see the emotion. Okay? But if a person just wants to stay in here, in stage 1, that's what they're up to. They've just got an interest in purely proving something to themselves and perhaps to other people. Okay, that what they have as an experience is real. And 9 times out of 10, it is very real. And it is real. It was a real experience. It is a real experience. But having to remain in a place where you've got to prove it limits. Okay? Does that make sense? Now, everyone in this room will have moved through stage 1. Okay? Otherwise you wouldn't be here, quite frankly. you wouldn't be here. Now, the problem at stage 1, and this will be something that we all still work through at whatever stage that you're at, is the monkey mind isn't in hand. It's so in stage 1, it's like giving a 3-year-old matches. Okay? It's, you might say, well, this is what you do with them and be careful and this, but if you leave them alone, you may not have a house. Okay. Because they may have torched something but still had enough perception to leave the building. Okay, does that make sense? So the monkey mind at stage 1, in the early stages of stage 1, it certainly isn't in hand. Okay, it is a 3-year-old with matches. You also find the problem with stage 1 is that the fear components, which is why it's really important, and I've always said to you that you have to work through fear. Because the fear components make the apparent psychic senses more pronounced. Okay, so when someone has had a really strong psychic experience, it's the fear part that has made it more pronounced. Okay, their fear has made it more intense, more pronounced. For more great free content designed to support your purchase of my book, Highly Intuitive People, 7 Right Brain Traits to Change the Lives of Intuitive Sensitive People, please visit finallyfeelunderstood.com. There you can subscribe and download for free the meditation specific to today's episode. If you have already read the book, then it's time for you to receive exclusive access and support from me and your fellow intuitive sensitives as we go deeper together along this proven 7-step path by joining us in my monthly membership program called Heidi's Circle. There you can ask me anything in a safe and private environment, and I will answer you live. Join us today by visiting healmyinnerworld.com.